woman and injuring another enters day 4. And airlines testified before Congress concerning a record surge of violent passenger incidents on flights and at airports. Also, we meet a medical assistant in New Jersey who serenades the critically ill.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
The trial for a Joplin man accused of killing a woman and shooting his estranged wife enters its 4th day. This is KOAM News at Noon. I'm Tanya Bach, topping our first 7 minutes. A recap of day 3 as the defense team for Stephen Thompson takes its turn calling witnesses to the stand. Lawyers focused on Thompson's physical well-being at the time prosecutors say he murdered Carissa Gerard and critically injured his estranged wife, Christina Thompson. The defense presented witnesses showing Thompson was unable to lift his arm very high due to a torn rotator cuff. Social worker also took the stand to testify about the Thompsons' relationship with each other and their child. You can read more about that and other updates in the story on our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. The Joplin Humane Society is currently working to rehabilitate the 18 dogs that were brought to them after law enforcement responded to a hoarding situation in Oronogo, Missouri. Now, those 18 dogs consist of 8 adults and 10 puppies. Joplin Humane Society workers say they're determined to find each one a forever home. But before that can happen, they'll need help with fleas and malnourishment and a lot of tender, loving care so these pups know how to behave properly around people.
So it's just getting them comfortable and getting them socialized and letting them know that humans can provide a positive interaction.
Police say the dog's original owners let the situation get out of control because the animals were not fixed. But that will not be an issue going forward since the 4 dogs remaining at the home are all male. Well, our first fall morning came with rather chilly temperatures.
A little bit.
But it may just be a fall tease. Michael Haslip joins us with the first look at the forecast.
You got to remember, before sunrise, we were holding on to places at 41 degrees in the northern portion of the 4 states. We were that close to the 30-degree mark at some point in time. We were way away from a record, though. We would have had to fall down to about 33 degrees. But now we've rebounded right back up. Beautiful afternoon in store. And get ready for summer-like heat. Not today, but before we get to the weekend. But what a gorgeous afternoon. Look how much it's warmed up, though, on the west portion compared to the east right there. A good 7-degree difference. As we've got 76s in Neodesha and Independence compared to 69s in Monette and Cassville. We'll split it right down the middle there. With a 73 in Oswego and a 70 in Miami. Clean Skywatch Storm Tracker. Check out the Great Lakes. Technically, if I went by the textbook, it's not a cutoff low. That's as close as you can come to a cutoff low as there is without actually being one. That's why they're going to have all the thunderstorm activity on this Thursday into Friday as that thing moves off to the East Coast. Now, luckily, we don't see anybody in the contiguous 48, even in the low category, so we'll call that a winner on this September the 23rd. Our afternoon planner is going to put us in the mid to high 70s. Tanya, I'm not going to be surprised if we don't see an 80 pop out every now and then on the far western edge of southeast Kansas because that breeze has undergone its shift. And so now that it works from the southwest and the south, that will actually mean a not only warm tomorrow, but escaping overnight lows that will not be in the 40s. We'll kind of ride 50s and 60s as we head into the weekend, an indicator that our afternoon highs are also going to increase into the 80s and eventually the 90s. Coming up here in just a little bit, you and I have been tracking her for the past 3 days. Welcome, Sam.
All right, Sam.
Happened that fast.
We will.
We went from an invest yesterday to number 18 this morning to Sam at the news at noon.
All right. Well, looking forward to hearing about that.
I don't know why. You know what? That would actually be okay. That would be Sam as in a he. I just had to catch myself on that because we're coming off of Rose. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I was thinking Sam is in a female name. This would be Sam as in a male's name since I alternate.
Yeah, get it right, Michael.
I got it.
All right, thanks. Well, there's some confusion about the Biden administration's policy on thousands of migrants who've been camping on the southern border in Texas. Many of the 15,000 migrants have been deported to their native Haiti. But sources tell CBS News more than 1,000 have been allowed into the U.S. to ask for asylum. The governor of Texas is using a line of police cars to keep migrants out. Aviation industry leaders testify before Congress today about the record surge of violent passenger incidents on flights and at airports. Most of the incidents involve passengers refusing to wear a mask. Errol Barnett has the latest from Washington.
Airline and flight attendant representatives are pleading with Congress to do more to keep air travel safe for everyone.
Our colleagues are anxious and fearful. What is going to happen on the next flight? How will this passenger react if I remind them to wear their mask?
The number of unruly passenger incidents on flights surged during the pandemic, most over passengers refusing to wear a mask. A recent survey found 85% of flight attendants have dealt with unruly passengers this year, and 1 in 5 reported a physical incident.
In not every instance was law enforcement actually able to meet the flight in time before the passenger left the scene. We have had a lot of incidents out of Charlotte. We have had a lot of incidents out of the Florida airports and out of Texas.
The Federal Aviation Administration implemented a zero-tolerance policy and fines earlier this year when it became clear air travel in an ongoing pandemic was becoming unpredictable. As a result, the number of unruly incidents per flight decreased but has recently plateaued. There have been more than 4,300 incidents so far this year and counting.
The fines that we have publicized, over $1 million in fines so far, and the communication that we've done with the public have driven those rates down, but there's still a lot of work to be done.
The suspension of alcohol service by Southwest and American Airlines is also credited for helping to decrease the number of air rage incidents. And now the FAA is asking airports to limit to-go orders for all alcoholic drinks. Errol Barnett, CBS News, Washington.
Airline industry has asked the U.S. Department of Justice to prosecute people involved in air rage incidents. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, why patients are finding hope in one medical worker's musical message of hope. And later, Howard shows us how to make a Tuscan chicken one pot in the Mr. Food Test kitchen. Well, a medical worker in New Jersey calls himself the singing phlebotomist. His job is to draw blood, but as Jerika Duncan reports, his calling is to bring joy through song.
28-year-old medical assistant Enrique Rodriguez spends his breaks healing patients with song.
That's my outlet for communication. I don't care what background you come from. I don't care what your story is. There is a song that can touch every heart.
Enrique brings his guitar to work every day, performing for critically ill patients for the past 5 years. And the musical medicine has gained a following online. Last month, this video received more than 1 million views on TikTok, posted to honor a friend and longtime patient. The path to finding his voice was not easy.
My older brother, me and him were close to the hip, and he had to go away for some time. He had to go to jail for 5 years. And I just felt lonely and depressed, and I was seeking a family. I became a gang member. I lived to see the end of a bottle and for violence, and I just felt so angry all the time.
Feeling isolated after his family moved to Puerto Rico, Enrique turned to music as an outlet, teaching himself to play by ear.
I would come home to an empty apartment and just feel hollow and sad and just cry. So I started going to AA meetings downtown New Brunswick.
Why?
Because I knew that I needed help from people who were going through what I was going through. I knew that I couldn't save myself. And that's where I found the church. The church was on top of where the AA was. And then I heard them singing gospel songs, and I'm like, wait, that sounds beautiful. Let me walk up there.
That chance moment would bring music and faith into Enrique's life.
Oh, wake my soul and sing.
He mentioned to me that he was filled with pain, hurt, loneliness, depression, and I feel like, you know, my life was like that too. Total opposites, but we were in the same pit, and God literally plucked us out.
For Pastor Scott Walsh, Enrique's joy is contagious.
If you saw his worship on Sunday morning, it's infectious.
And it's a message of hope to patients like Michelle Losi.
When I was in the hospital for my 6-month stretch, it really, I went from a deep sadness to happy as anything, singing along.
Even if it's only for 2 minutes for that song, in that 2 minutes, they're at peace, they feel loved, they feel joy. That's the goal.
I'm Jerika Duncan. Dayton, New Jersey.
Still to come on the KOAM News at Noon, Mr. Food.
Join us as we take our taste buds on a trip to Tuscany with a mouth-watering main dish. You won't need a passport for this one.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
So I guess Mother Nature feeling maybe a little bit sorry for us and saying, you know what, I'm going to give you one day of fall before I return summer here as we close out September, because it is absolutely gorgeous right now over 7th and Rangeline in Joplin. Hey, we got a school bus on the move. Where the kiddos headed? We got a road trip on our hands, I do believe, right there. 71 degrees is where we stand. We'll talk a little bit about the wind shifting, and look how dry we are right now. That humidity is sinking all the way down to 39%. Let's go 71 in Fort Scott in Nevada. Point those out because earlier this morning it was a mere 41 degrees. A little bit cooler out to the east where it's 69 in Motonette and Cassville, 76 in Neodesha and Independence, and what up, Weva? Hanging in 70 when we check in Miami. Big difference overnight. Watch the wind arrows. Instead of coming in from the north like we had at 10 to 15 miles per hour, albeit really just going 5 to 10, although a little bit windier out in Independence. We've now shifted in from the south, indicating some warmer temperatures as we head to the weekend. Skywatch Storm Tracker, we are clear once again. I'm going to talk about that cutoff low because, like I said, textbook-wise, not necessarily a cutoff low, but it's about as cut off as you can get right there over the Great Lakes. They had 16-foot swells on Lake Michigan and Lake Erie yesterday as that low pressure just absolutely hangs right over there, and because it's got that circular motion to it, and that's what when we talk about cutoff like that, I mean it's got a hard time going anywhere, and so they're going to be stuck with that for the next several days. And while we see the thunderstorm activity kind of limited to the upper peninsula or the lower peninsula of the northern portion of the lower peninsula, try that one 8 times fast. Of Michigan, really the thunderstorm activity is going to push off to the northeastern portion of the United States. At one point in time, there was Rose. We retired Rose this morning, but I was just kind of using Rose as a placeholder for Sam because we knew Sam was directly down to the south, and now we do have a named storm, just became one at about 11 a.m. And here's the thing about Sam. It's not fooling around because conditions are ripe in the Atlantic right now. There's some warm water out there. This thing looks like it's going to explode into a Category 3 by the weekend. If we run the old spaghetti plots, we're used to seeing one of those take off in a different direction, and then we go, oh, it could go this way, it could go that way. Okay, that's eerily close to one another, and that's why Sam is definitely going to be a threat not only to the Caribbean, but to the Antilles, to Puerto Rico, to Hispaniola, and eventually to Cuba, and then we keep our eyes on Florida as well. Weather trend here in the 4 states for our middle of the week. Highs around, I think honestly, we'll see a 70. But you have to consider the eastern portion of the 4 states a little bit cooler. So average out about 76, 77. But look at the overnight lows. We escaped the 40s. We're going to be down into the 50s. This is reminiscent of where we were pretty much last week. And so what does that mean for our daytime highs going forward? Yeah, even with the cloud cover, it will mean that we're going to get warm, almost a retaste of summer because 86 on Saturday, 91 on both Sunday and Monday, and throw Tuesday in there as well. You know, the thing about Tuesday into Wednesday, Tanya, is usually we see a little thunderstorm activity. We think there's a front behind it. That's not necessarily the case here for our next batch of rain, even though we are in need of some showers. It doesn't do much to cool us off.
Yeah.
Should not be battling the humidity, though. As I said earlier, our humidity right now, 39%, very, very dry out there. And so all the way into the weekend, we're not going to see a wide variation between our temperature and what it actually feels like.
It has been nice to have this little bit of a cool off. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's 4-state hero, Specialist Eddie Files. Files served in the Navy from 1969 to 1971. He fought in the South China Sea and in South Vietnam. His hometown, Nevada, Missouri. We are proud to honor Eddie Files, our 4-state hero.
Over permanent molars to help reduce the risk of decay by more than 70%. Help safeguard your child's permanent teeth with the preventative measures of sealants.
What's for dinner? Ron's Supermarket and the Mr. Foods Test Kitchen have the answer with tasty, easy-to-make recipes.
Shop our weekly ad to get the best deals.
Thank you for supporting Ron's Supermarket.
Brought to you by Sleep Solutions by Slumberland Furniture.
Well, you won't need a passport for today's recipe, although the aroma and taste will make you feel like you're sitting at a sidewalk bistro in Tuscany. Howard shows us how to make his Tuscan chicken one pot in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
I know this might sound crazy, but I want you to close your eyes and imagine you're having dinner al fresco style in a small bistro in Tuscany. All you hear is the clanging of forks, the pouring of wine, and the faint sounds of music echoing through the streets. Then, your waiter brings you your dinner, and all you can smell is fresh herbs, the scent of a light tomatoey wine sauce, and the delicate yet distinct aroma of olive oil. Okay, now open your eyes. If this sounds good to you, then you're gonna love what we're making today. It's a Tuscan-style chicken dish that goes together like this. After flouring and browning a cut-up chicken in some olive oil, we add some peppers and onions, a handful of mushrooms, a chopped tomato, and a can of garbanzo beans that we've drained. To bring all this together, we top this with some marinara sauce, a bit of water, some white wine, and a few fresh herbs. After this cooks down for a bit and all the flavors come together, we'll take the chicken out and stir in some fresh cream. Mamma mia, does this look good or what? If only you could smell the aroma. Well, you can. All you need to do is visit our website and get the recipe for our Tuscan chicken one pot. And the best part, there's no tipping required. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a truly Tuscan way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
And I'm officially hungry now. You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Show.
Then, yeah. My bad. Dow, tell him it's going to be warm and sunny today.
It's going to be warm and sunny today. Take it from the guy who's wearing a live mic.
There we go. What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, the World Health Organization updates its air quality guidelines for the first time in 15 years, slashing levels of several pollutants known to increase the risk of pneumonia, asthma, heart disease, and cancer. Why scientists say governments need to act now. Plus, we're going to check out a program designed to identify pandemic lockdown learning gaps in children. And a local trucking company, CFI, celebrates 70 years on the road. You join us for those stories, a lot more, of course, including weather with a microphone today at 5.
All right, thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.